Yeah, so today, over these years, including my own personal experience, my entire life, I'm 42 years old now. And when I was 32 years old, I was really at the depths of my own depression, anxiety, frustration, anger. I didn't really know it then. I grew up with a family member who had a pretty severe mental illness, and so I was always in comparison to this person thinking, well, I don't have as many problems as them, or maybe I don't experience life like that. And so I didn't want to admit to myself, I think for many years, that I was completely disconnected from life. I was completely disconnected from myself. And as many of you know, that can lead to a lot of consequences. And a lot of us have been experiencing this maybe our whole lives, maybe more acute at times. I think we do, some of us that experience depression and anxiety, at times it comes in more acute waves. And then there are, some people who their experience is that it's an always underlying facet of their life. It's like a best friend that you wish wasn't your best friend. And so I want to really you go ahead and mute you there, Bruce. Welcome in. I really want to honor all of the ways that I have described, and that there are many, many more that you can, as a human being, experience these states of being. And we're not going to go too deep into necessarily, the theories about causes, but we're really going to look at, from my experience, just working very, very closely with hundreds and hundreds of people, that I would say at least 80% of the people who come to our retreats report some sort of active depression or anxiety. Some of that stems from trauma. Some of that stems, some of it is chronic and doesn't seem to have a root. Some of it is based on life events. But we very rarely work with people who are like, I'm doing pretty good. Just wanted to, do this really long emotional retreat, and that's really going to be difficult. Right, there's a reason. And I've been, I think, very blessed and lucky to get up close and personal in these week-long retreats, where we get to go a little bit deeper than just, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, right? We get to like really dig and allow ourselves the time to go to maybe a little bit more of the roots of those places. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here. Part of this, I'm not sure if you guys saw, is that today I really want to give you a few tips that just I have found to be the most helpful. Maybe you've heard of them before, maybe you haven't. And then we're also going to be actually finding a way that, even without mushrooms, even without coming to a retreat, the best way that I have found, let's say personally, to begin to move through some of these felt experiences, which is somatic experiencing. And we'll describe that as we go along. But there's going to be some interaction today. You're not just going to be learning, which is fun because you can't do that forever on Zoom, right? Let's share our screen here. Go ahead and play. All right. So today, what we're going to be covering, some of the straight facts. What do we know up to this point? And I'm going to run through it really quickly. All of the sources of this are going to be at the end. So if you want to dig deeper into the scientific sources, a lot of it is from some of the sources you may have heard of: Johns Hopkins University, Imperial College London, some of the studies that have been done on the short and long-term effects, reported effects from people who have been in studies with psilocybin on their depression and on their mental health issues. How the brain is involved in experiencing trauma and what that may lead to as far as the symptoms that we feel from our trauma in our life. And hint, hint, if you think you don't have trauma, well, you're on the wrong Zoom. Because all of us do. And whether it's big T, little t, small, big, I mean, like, we come into this world very pure, and then life happens, right? And I think a lot of us along the way, for years, at least 2 decades, played the trauma game where it's like, well, but my parents didn't die when I was young. Well, but I didn't have that person's sad life. Well, but and I tried to rationalize my way out of the fact that at some point to me, this most simple definition of trauma is an event that happens to you where you are either unable or you don't have the time to process it. That's it. You're a 3-year-old, something sad happens, and you're like, nope, got to get to school, right? Something gets stuck. You were unable to process it. You didn't have the space or the time to fully feel through and experience what was happening. And that gets stuck in the body. A lot of the science around trauma is very new, especially around how it gets stuck in the body, how it gets stuck in the brain, which parts make us eventually develop kind of coping mechanisms for it. But we all have it. And then the most important part, which is feeling those feelings. So if you're like me, you'd love to sit with your coach or your therapist and just talk about your problems forever and make up little stories and then retell the story and then how this happened. And then you'd have an aha moment in your brain. You'd say, oh, yeah, that must be it. Uh-huh. Okay. Uh-huh. Now can I leave? Because I had my aha moment and now I'm going to leave. It can be helpful to understand the story of what happened. Unfortunately, we have this thing called a body, and it's very important. And eventually we have to experience or feel through fully those emotions that we weren't able to feel through. Now, psychedelics, for those of you that have done them, are really good at this. And that's why they can be intense. They can help us feel through, move through, experience the things that are blocking us, that are blocking our connection, that are blocking, maybe we don't even know what they're blocking. That can be one of the felt effects of psychedelics, but we don't have to drink mushroom tea or take ketamine. We don't have to do these things in order to begin this process of learning something we never taught in school. How do I feel my feelings? What does that mean? And how do I do it? So we're gonna actually do that today, if you can believe it. I wonder what feeling we're gonna feel. Okay, so quickly on mushrooms in the brain, these are the things that we know for a fact. Again, I'll send you the sources. Anyone heard of neuroplasticity? You can give me a little like this, like pretend like you're a brain with neuroplasticity. Both the first two, the neuroplasticity enhancement, which is the brain being able to actually grow new connections, new neurons, and thus the experience is that you can more easily create new thought patterns, new behavioral patterns. So anyone who's been depressed or experienced depression multiple times in their lives knows that rumination and getting caught in negative thought patterns and loops is extremely common. In fact, I don't know if I've ever met anyone who's been depressed that's like, no, I have really positive thinking, but I'm still depressed, right? Rumination is a key component of that. The default mode network is very similar. So when that can loosen a bit, this is where we get that chance. And the feeling that people describe is, I had a new lease on life. I could see things more clearly. I was more open. Those are the words they use. And this is what's happening in the brain to allow those sensations to happen. The 5-HT2A serotonin receptors, again, these are all like more scientific specific ways that scientists have seen what is actually going on in the brain that leads to the felt experiences of the lessening of depression, the easing of anxiety in our lives. Mystical experiences, which I believe Johns Hopkins was the first academic scientific university to have mystical experiences as a result of a study, which is very fascinating, right? Because what does that mean? I mean, right? What is a mystical experience? But when you have it, you know it. Most people describe those as a feeling of connectedness to nature, to the all, feeling one with others, feeling that things make sense, that things connect back together. Oh, this, it all connects. It's feeling a sensation beyond your understanding, right? You have this paradigm for 60 years of your life, and then you have a mystical experience that maybe breaks some of the paradigm of what you were imagining that life was all about. Ooh, this is a good one for me. A reduction in avoidant behavior, right? Avoiding social situations, avoiding friends, avoiding everything until we really isolate. There's quite a few long-lasting effects of psilocybin. I know in the Johns Hopkins study specifically that up to 60% of the people who said that they experienced a massive relief of their chronic depression, it was for more than a year after one session. That's absolutely, it's unheard of. It's unheard of in any sort of depression study. Now, I will be the first to say that I don't think that just the mushrooms themselves necessarily, I mean, it's possible for some people, but I think there's more to it. I think that we as humans are complex systems. We're not just a brain, we're not just a body. We have much complexity that leads to these things. But it is, compared to what we have available to us right now as far as treatment, it's incredible. The safety profile of psilocybin is extremely safe. It's safer than sugar in your body. In a 20-year Harvard study of every single drug that you could possibly take, it's one of the safest. It's safer than caffeine. It's safer than, obviously, alcohol, which is the most dangerous, strangely. And yeah, so that one's fascinating. We've worked with people ages 15 to 82. We've had guests that have had brain tumors, different surgical ailments, different sort of physical health issues that maybe other plant medicines or other psychedelics, it might have prevented them from going that route. So this is the wonderful thing about psilocybin, that for the most part, physically, you have to, of course, screen for other mental health things, but physically it's very safe. And then our cognitive flexibility, right? We all need a little bit more of that, and emotional processing, which is what we're going to be doing today. So it kind of helps strengthen the ability to sit with, process, feel emotions. Those beautiful little weird things we all have. I'm just going to skip over this really, really quick, and I'll send this to you guys. But you can see on my little brain here, the amygdala. Kind of, I don't know, it might be blocking it, that tiny little amygdala, that tiny little piece down there. So when we experience a traumatic event, we get these rushes of it, not only just adrenaline, but many other things in our system. And this is how, from the research I've done, that scientists are starting to see, how can a traumatic experience, right? Someone being really afraid or something terrible happening, how can that imprint on the brain, right? It's kind of a strange idea. And what they're starting to think is that the amygdala, from even one traumatic experience, can increase in size for a very long time. And we see this in people who have PTSD or CPTSD, that their amygdala is enlarged. And so they actually have a much quicker response to maybe even everyday life in these ways. Startling, noradrenaline release, right? Like someone closes a door and adrenaline rushes through your body. This feeling of being in survival, even when you just get an email you don't like and you're in survival, which all leads to our favorite thing right now, chronic stress, right? That we are always, as you guys have heard, fight, flight, or freeze. Okay, right? We're always responding in some way. We don't necessarily have the ability or even the practice sense of what it feels like to be in a calm, regulated way of living. Maybe after a long vacation, or maybe after something really peaceful, you're like, oh, this is a different feeling. But then something happens and here we are again. So what I think is great about this is that we don't have to blame ourselves. We don't have to say, what is wrong with me? Why do I just keep thinking like this? I know for me, my startle response, even to this day, and I've done a lot of work, is it's strong. And I have to tell people in my life, if I'm startled or if I'm scared for some reason, it's going to take me a while to regulate. I'm going to have to go away. I'm going to have to be by myself and do certain breaths. And it may seem silly or weird, or, that I'm being dramatic, but I know myself. And this is still a response that I have. And, a big part of this too is knowing ourselves, knowing what we need, and being able to voice those needs and boundaries. But that's a different workshop, guys. That's the boundaries workshop. That's a whole other thing. Okay, let's move along here. Just a few seconds on this. Has anyone seen a picture kind of like this? Maybe you've seen the circle with a brain that is not on psychedelics, and then there's a brain with all the colors and connected. This is a pretty common visual explanation of what they're seeing in EEG brain scans. And as a side note, coming up next year, the Buena Vida is going to be the first retreat ever to participate with, sorry, not Imperial College London, University College London, to do the world's first week-long psilocybin study with EEG brain scans. So if you want to be a part of that, we're actually starting to look for people who are going to be a part of that. We're going to do a placebo ceremony. We're going to do mushrooms. Like it's absolutely going to be fantastic. And so they're working on in their psychedelic department, what does it look like to be in a non-clinical setting while experiencing psychedelics? What are the short and long-term effects of a clinical setting versus a more longer-term retreat, or you might say spiritual or emotional type setting? So this is the most accepted and recent theory of what is happening and why we have these results from psilocybin when we have a high dose. Is that, just as you can see with the literal colors here, our brain is so much more connected. It starts speaking more. And entropy, another word for entropy, is chaos. And so, or anarchy. So this is also called the anarchic brain theory. Our brain loves order, as you know, right? And it even loves to keep the same patterns, even when it's hurting us over and over again. And the brain's like, I just like that. And so what we're doing with some psychedelics, this is an example of psilocybin, is like we're kind of throwing a wrench in there. We're throwing a wrench into the patterns for a short amount of time. And what happens is so much more connection, communication, aha moments, right? Synchronicities, memories resurfacing. So the felt effects of this are many and varied by everyone. Hello there. Okay, let's do a little shake. If you're in your seat, if you can stand up. We're moving along here. We're using our brains. I want to use our bodies a little bit. You can shake your feet a little bit, shake your head back and forth. It's the end of the day, but it's not the end of the week. All right, so the biggest breakthrough for myself, so many people I work with, so many people I think, even in the psychedelic community in the last few years, is this understanding of somatics. So what is somatics? Have you guys been hearing this? This is kind of like, it's a buzzword on the socials, right? Somatic therapy. A lot of, not all, but a lot of traditional Western psychotherapy and psychiatry is based on the cognitive processing. So narrative, stories, talking, right? Maybe even like reprogramming the brain, reprogramming how the brain thinks. And somatics are focused on the body. And you do this work long enough, the brain body, right? The heart body, the gut brain, right? 95% of our serotonin is made in our gut. It's not even made in our brain, which is crazy because we're like, no, the brain is what's making all of this, right? So we're really like, even gut science is brand new. Anyone who's a real scientist, and I work with a few of them, will tell you what we know about the gut and the microbiome is brand new. We're just breaking the surface on that. But we are starting to really see that we think top down, right? Like figure out everything up here, and then the body will just calm down. And then we think about stuff, and then all of this will be affected. But somatics are pretty much the opposite. We move away from story. We move away from narrative, and we focus on where the body is experiencing through sensation, where it's experiencing this. And if anyone's done it, it's absolutely wild. It's not what your ego wants. Your ego wants to tell the story over and over again. But those of us that have experienced depression know that, again, rumination, retelling the story, oh, I always fail. Let me think of 30 other reasons why I failed. Let me think of those stories. Retelling and narrativizing our story usually isn't helping us that often. So a few of these things, right? Anxiety that leads to muscle tension, of course, right? All the neck, shoulders, jaw, we hold a lot of tension, right? In our jaw, our back. And so as we start to move through some of these stuck or old emotions and sensations, strange, miraculous things in our body will start to happen. And I see this all the time at the retreats, because people who don't even have the intention of like, they've been having neck pain for their whole life. They don't even think about it. By the end of the retreat, they're just like, I've been sleeping better. Like I feel open, and I see it. I see their bodies start to look differently. Their face start to look, their jaw start to relax. So it's, it's very connected. If I told you all right now, and I won't do this, but I used to be an improv instructor, and we would walk around the room and we would say, walk like someone who's not confident, right? You walk like this in your eyes and your neck, right? And you walk like someone who has had a good day, and you kind of put your shoulders back and you look around, right? Like our body knows how to hold and how to um to process the things that are happening inside, and over time that becomes a chronic way of being. But through this experiencing, it is incredible what can happen. Maybe the story doesn't change. Maybe you don't have to, forgive the thing that happened. Maybe you need to make boundaries with that person or situation. But the body, like how it's being held in the body, can shift dramatically. And then what I have found through doing this is that most of us, at least this was me for at least 6 months with my kind of the person who was taking me through this, we're so afraid that the emotions and the sensations that are stuck in the body are going to overwhelm us. We're like, it's too much. I won't be able to go to work for a month. If I feel my grief, if I feel my sadness, if I feel my numbness, it's too much. And something my therapist told me that has been true to this day, 4 years later, is that your body will not give you more than you can handle. It will not push you. Somehow it knows what you're able to handle for that day or for that moment. And what I have found through this is that I'm now able to move through and process emotions so much faster because I welcomed them in and I was like, oh, what am I feeling today? I'm feeling some sadness. Where am I feeling it in my body? Oh, it's kind of in my chest. Okay, let's like work through this process instead of like, no, 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 everything's fine. Like just go to work and just push it away. It doesn't work. We all know it doesn't work. You can run and run and run from these things for a very long time, but eventually they catch up to us. Okay, and suddenly it went into a retreat. This is just the last slide that I wanted to put because, of course, I do run retreats and I'm a huge believer in groups. I hardly ever do one-on-one therapy. In fact, I actually don't do one-on-one therapy. It's not because I don't like people, because I really do, but I've seen what the experience of a group and other humans can do. It's vastly underrated, I think, when it comes to psychedelics. I would be shocked if working one-on-one in a clinical setting with a doctor and then going home had nearly the same effects of being at a retreat. So you can read some of those points. I think the biggest one, obviously being guided, right? Guided through the whole process, not just the ceremony that's the 4 hours itself of the actual mushroom medicine, but being guided the next day when you're feeling angry and disappointed and you want to go home, but you want to stay, but what's happening, right? Like you need a team, you need people there with you. And also hearing the other people around you, hearing their experiences. One night it was they met God and it was the best night of their life. And the next night it was like, oh, I had to revisit some things with my father that like I really didn't want to. Right. And there's like, and you're just being held by everyone around you. The somatic practices, we've moved over the years. We used to do a lot more kind of sharing and talk therapy, which there is still some sharing, right? We like to, it's very fun and necessary to talk about your psychedelic experience. However, it's also really important to breathe, to move, to do yoga, to feel grounded. Like, what does it mean right after a big mystical experience to feel grounded the next day and feel back to the earth? So we really have leaned in our team to more of those practices. And then you get to take those home, right? This is what we're going to be doing today. Like I always tell people, you're not going to be doing mushrooms every day for the rest of your life. Please don't. I've never met a human that would ever imagine that. And my recommendation for most people, I would say, right, asterisk, is like 2 to 3, if you can, like bigger macro doses a year and microdose if you can the rest of the time. But even 1 or 2, I think larger doses of psilocybin per year, the world would be a different place. Like the emotional regulation, the emotional shower, I like to call it, that we get to take, kind of like that waterfall there. We take a shower every day, I hope, or when you're camping every other day. Right? We get into the shower, then we turn it on, we have our shampoo, we have our soap, our washcloth, whatever we have. But does anyone ever get in the shower and be like, why am I here again? How did I get dirty? Why do I smell? Right? We don't do that. We just get in the shower and then we get out. And I know that it's obviously that's a little bit of a silly example, but we don't ever feel shame for getting in the shower, going to the gym and getting stinky and we take a shower. And the same thing is true with our emotions, with what we're processing, with all of our relationships. We need a way to cleanse all of that, to reset, shake it up, cleanse it out, see it clearly, feel what we need to feel, and then so move on with our lives. And that's, I think, the simplest way that I can explain kind of what I feel after a really big mushroom ceremony is like, okay, wow, all right, a lot to process, but I'm here. I'm kind of clear. I have a little bit of a more clear focus. I've taken my emotional shower, probably cried a lot, maybe shook it out a lot. And I'm stronger and clean per se, right? Like moving on with my life. Prep and integration, I'm sure you guys have heard quite a bit about this, but it's really unfortunate that there are still quite a few practitioners and just places around the world that really don't do much with integration. And we like to focus on integration even like the day that you get there, meaning like, what does it mean? What am I supposed to experience in this container? What's going to happen when I go home? How is my, when is my brain at its most loose where I can implement these new behaviors and these new belief systems? And then being held, for like a few weeks after, because it's an intense experience, especially a retreat where you're doing multiple doses and multiple ceremonies. It's a lot, and time to process, of course. So there you have some of our awesome guests last December on a hike. All right, we ready? Another shake. We're moving, we're grooving, we're getting here. Okay, so now we know all about, okay, depression and anxiety. I honestly feel like right now with the way that the world is, I haven't met anyone, including my close circle of friends, acquaintances, guests. I interact with a lot of human beings, and I don't know a single person right now on this planet who's like, things are pretty good. Life's great. I feel grounded. I feel prepared. Everything's fine. Future looks beautiful, right? And that's okay. Like, it's really okay to acknowledge that, especially since the pandemic, we're living in an age of anxiety, right? An age. It just gave me chills even thinking of that. It's not just that we like, oh, there's something wrong with me and I haven't processed my trauma and that's why I have anxiety. We're living in an age of anxiety, an age of like, we can't see, maybe like our parents or grandparents 10, 20, 30 years down the line. Oh, I'm going to get my house and then I get my thing and I get my pension and then I'm going to, there's not a vision right now of humanity moving forward. I know that sounds very dramatic, but I think you would agree. Like, there's not a clear vision of what our children and our grandchildren and their grandchildren are going to live. So I just think that that's really important to acknowledge, that we are experiencing as human beings a time of anxiety, and to acknowledge that, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that we have to let it become our entire personality or let it become everything, but it's important to say, like, I'm doing the best that I can right now. I have some friends that are like, Amanda, what are you doing in a few months? I'm like, I don't know. Like, right? Like, the best we can. We're doing the best we can, and we're hopefully supporting one another, supporting our families. And today, this is about really supporting ourselves. So we're going to do a practice. Before we begin, I want to do a practice with everyone, because I'm going to ask for this portion of our how to feel practice. I'm going to ask for someone to volunteer. If you are a brave soul that wants to feel a lot better, you can volunteer. But before we get into that, I want to give you my absolute favorite immediate relief for when I'm experiencing anxiety. And these days it's, I don't know when it's going to come. I don't know when my little friend anxiety is going to decide to rear her little fun head. But I do have this practice that is scientifically proven to put your body into a parasympathetic state. So if the if the anxiety is real, right? Like they always say, if a tiger's chasing you, if there's something actually happening, right? If a car's coming at you, that's a real experience of anxiety. And you're in fight or flight, you get out of the way or you do something. But if the anxiety is mental, if it's something you're creating in your head that either hasn't happened yet, or what if this, or what if they say this, that's when you're physically safe. Maybe you're at home or in your office or in a car. And this is when you can do this breath that I'm going to teach you to tell your body. We're literally reverse engineering, meaning we're not waiting for the circumstances on the outside to change. Nothing is changing on the outside, but we're breathing in a way that tells our body everything is fine. Nothing much is going on here. And from that place of calm, after about 30 seconds, it should be a little bit of relief so that the next decisions you make are not based completely in that reactive state. So if you've been on one of these workshops, we always do this breath because I want to reiterate it till the end of time. It's called the 3-part breath or the tripart breath. And this breath, it is 2 inhales through the nose. The second inhale is very important for what it does in the brain. And then a very long exhale through the mouth. And on the exhale, we want to somehow vibrate our vocal cords. That can be a sigh. It can be just somehow that you can feel your vocal cords vibrating. And what that does is it tells the vagus nerve, the largest nerve in our central nervous system, which runs down the back of the ear, side of the throat, back of the body. Our vagus nerve is what controls the vagus nerve is incredible, but we want to tell the vagus nerve we are calm, we are here. And that's why maybe driving around and singing in your car does make you feel better, right? Singing in the shower kind of makes you feel better. A lot of that has to do with vocal cords, has to do with humming. This is why mantras many times are humming. A lot of this is in the throat. So a lot of people have a shame around making a sound, but we're going to do our best, even if it's, again, just So I'll give you an example of how this breath looks. The first inhale is nice and big through the nose. But then right at the top, you do that second one. A little bit more. So you'll be full with air. All the way out till there's no more out breath. And then again. So we can begin together. When you're ready, to 2 forceful inhales. We'll do 2 more. One more. When you're done, if you can, keep your eyes closed or just be still for just a moment. Turn to normal breathing. If you can, feel your feet on the ground or your butt in your seat. Kind of feel the weight of gravity, the weight of your body right here. For me, during this time of calm, I like to just tell myself something that is true. Many times I say, I am here, I am here, I am here. Today I felt very rushed and I said, time is an illusion. Time is an illusion. Time is an illusion. And as you maybe can feel already, I mean, I almost feel like I get high from that breath. It's absolutely wonderful. 3 to 6 of those will do wonders for you. And I'm telling you, 3 of them, once you get used to it, maximum 45 seconds. It's incredible what it does for the system. And so our breath, because I'm a big breath work advocate, our breath is medicine. It is the closest and easiest access that we have to changing ourselves, right? These big dreams we have of changing ourselves and changing our behavior and all this. It's here. It's here in our lungs. It's in our stomach. It's in our throat. We have the ability to change very, very quickly with paying attention to our breath. So I hope you take that tool with you. All right, guys. For some reason, Zoom does not like me to see my clock. Okay, good. Oh, perfect. We're doing so well. So what I would like to do, anybody who's feeling like you have something going on in your life, a situation, a chronic feeling, it's just, you probably know what it is when I even just say that. It's just like the thing, like what's been getting at you lately? What's been maybe something that you've been ruminating about, a situation with a relationship. If you have anything that you would like to work through, and we're not going to, I just want to give a little frame around this. My intention today is not to take you anywhere that's too deep to process right now. My intention is to show an example of what this process looks like, of how we begin to process an emotion, how we begin to move from story to the emotion to a sensation. Those things are different. Can it get bigger means that we allow it with our loving witness and the witness of me helping you. We allow it to just exist in our body. And the transmutation will come with that acceptance and that witnessing of it. So if anyone would like to help out the group to go through this, to feel better, to feel good at the end of this call, you can either unmute or you can raise your little Zoom hand or you can do a thumb. You can do whatever you want. Who's feeling courageous today? I'm going to give it a moment. If your heart's beating fast, or if you're nervous, that might be an okay sign that we can do this work together. Okay, I'm gonna give it another 30 seconds. And if nobody would like to volunteer, we'll do it with me. We'll do it with something I've been going through.
I can do it. I can volunteer. It's Maria.
Hi, Maria.
Hi.
Right at the last minute. I love it. Where are you? Where are you?
I'm sitting on the beach right now in San Diego, in Encinitas, in California.
Perfect. So you
Yeah.
already well, at least a little bit of the calm from the ocean and the beach there. That's good.
Yes. And doing the breathing exercise by the sea was perfect.
Wonderful. Yeah. How did you feel? How did you feel after that breath exercise?
Great.
It's a good one, right?
Yeah.
It's simple. You can do it anywhere. Okay, we're going
Mm-hmm.
to get you into our view here. There's Maria. There you are. All right, Maria. So Maria, tell me just real quickly about just a real quick background of any of your experiences with with therapy, with any sort of body therapy, could be yoga, could be breathing, anything that you do that makes you feel connected to your body.
Yeah, so I am a therapist. I'm an LMFT, and a yoga teacher. Although I don't teach yoga, but I practice very regularly every single day of my life. That is my somatic therapy. And I've done a lot of trainings on meditation. Although meditation and mindfulness create a lot of anxiety for me because of
Mm.
my history. That of course it's not worth going now. I wouldn't share it with everyone right now, but like let me let me just say that being asked to be quiet doesn't make me feel safe. If it makes sense. So I try to focus more on sounds than on my own breath, or like walking meditation. Even when I did a silent retreat, I was doing a lot of walking meditation, that kind of stuff. And much better when I am moving than when I am sitting with my eyes closed. Does it
Mm.
make sense?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be something you'd like to explore? Because I did hear a little bit, again, when I want to be sure that I make this very clear. When we say that we're starting at the narrative or the story, that does not
Mm-hmm.
mean it's right or wrong. It doesn't mean when I say a story, and when I first heard this, I go, does that mean it's not true? No, it means it's absolutely
Mm-hmm.
true. It's just different ways of experiencing. And so the story, and we can work with something else if you'd like, but the story like that you told us very clearly, which was like, I don't really like being still and I don't like being told to be quiet. Were those the words you used?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
very yeah.
So can you
And
tell me?
I feel super comfortable working with that. I mean, I've been doing therapy since for at least for 3 decades. So like I feel very comfortable exploring this.
Wonderful. So tell me just a little bit more about when someone tells you to be quiet. What is the story when someone says, "Hey, you need to be quiet or you need to sit still"? What does that feel like for you?
You need to be quiet so I can have more power over you.
Okay.
You are too powerful when you move.
Fantastic. This is perfect. So that is right there. That's the story, right? When I'm told to be
Mm-hmm.
quiet, that the
Mm-hmm.
person has power over me, they're telling me what to do, and it doesn't feel good. Wonderful. So that's our narrative, that's our story right there. Now,
Mm-hmm.
moving on to real quickly the difference, just so I can tell the group, because this one puzzled me for a little while. The difference between an emotion and a sensation, right? So an emotion would be, that I feel very sad. I feel stressed. I feel frustrated. Whereas a sensation, like if I say, I'm just feeling so frustrated today, right? I say I'm feeling frustrated. But what is the sensation of frustration? And that's going to be different for everyone and every day. It's, I feel cramped. I feel my jaw feels small. My eyes feel tight. My
Mm-hmm.
back feels curled. My right, this is the maybe, and maybe someone else frustration feels numb and it feels spacey like this.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I can't focus. I feel unfocused. I feel loose. I feel disconnected from the earth, right? Those are the sensations. So if you can, Maria, we have some, I'm just going to let them in here. Take a moment and, you can either think of a situation or just a general, either a time or just in general, if someone were to tell you, you need to be quiet and you need to sit down, maybe does that, what emotions that you could describe, what does that bring up?
Makes me feel tense. Especially here, like in the solar plexus is where I feel my emotions. It's like something is not right. Why would this person ask me to be quiet?
Hmm. So what are some more, other than that tenseness, what are some more emotions? Does it make you feel more angry, more sad, more frustrated? What are some words there?
Um, Scared.
Okay,
I feel
perfect.
fear. Yeah.
Okay, so let's focus on that one, right? So we have our story. Someone's telling me this, I don't like it. It makes me feel like the kind of dominant emotion is it makes me feel scared. And many times I
Mhm.
love what you did there, right? Like as many of us know, right below anger many times is fear. And actually, right below many emotions can be, but you felt that. It makes me feel scared. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to really, if you can, just for a few seconds, to really close your eyes if you're able to.
Yes.
And when you feel that word, when I feel scared, don't worry about the story, don't worry about a person, but when you feel scared, scary, can you describe just a little bit of what kind of happens if you're able to, if you feel safe here with me and you feel safe in your body, you can actually, this is the called like letting it get bigger, right? Can that scariness, I'm afraid, can you allow it to get a little bit bigger in your body and just kind of describe to me the sensations that causes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels as if I had a knot in my stomach. I have a huge hole here in my chest.
Good, perfect. So you're feeling a whole kind of an emptiness maybe in your chest,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
knot in your stomach. And that knot in your stomach, does it feel, could you describe it a little bit more? Is it pulsing? Is it tight? Is it, what is it? What is
tight,
it feels?
definitely tight. Yes,
Okay,
almost heavy, as if I had like an elephant sitting here.
perfect. You're doing awesome. So let's focus for a moment just on that. Let's focus on the stomach, right? Like you said, the solar
Mm-hmm,
plexus.
mm-hmm,
This is our seat of the self, our confidence, and focus just on that sensation, right? The emotion is scared, but the sensation is a tight ball. It kind of feels like it's squeezing in a little bit. And
mm-hmm.
if that sensation, just that little tight ball, if that could make a sound, what sound would it make?
Mm. Wow, I never thought about it.
You're doing really good. This is it's a new way.
Um,
So
yeah.
sometimes it's just kind of like a, if it didn't have words, if it didn't have a way, but what would that little tight, that little, and you can kind
I'll tell you what came up for me. It's like, when you're in a dream and you want to yell because you want to scream for help or ask for help, but you're losing your voice. It's almost that suffocated feeling, like almost as if it wants to talk, but it can't.
of, and I know you're in a little bit of a public place right now, but can you make with your throat a little bit of that sound of like it wants to move, but it can't, doesn't have a voice, but it wants to have a voice?
Oh,
Awesome. Yeah, kind of like, oh,
yeah, help me.
help me, help me.
I want to get out.
Perfect. And just sit with that for just a moment. That
Mhm.
that sensation that I want to get out. I want to be seen. I want to ooh. And really allow, just for the next 10 seconds or so, allow my presence, allow the presence of everyone here who's witnessing you, who's giving you compassion and love, and see if you can bring a little bit of warmth, maybe even like imagine a comfort, again, not to the scared, not to the story, but just to that sensation, that little sensation in your tummy. And maybe you can
Mhm.
visualize, kind of, maybe it wants some space, but giving it a little bit of love, giving it a little bit of comfort. And if you feel that you want to say something, if you want to express something to that sensation, you can.
I would like to tell the sensation that heaviness, that was actually not an elephant on the chest. It's like a warm lavender pillow, just trying to help, try
Mm.
to feel better.
So bringing some comfort there, bringing some.
Yeah. Like acknowledging it's like you're not feeling good. Let me do this for you.
Mm. And how does that feel in your stomach if you kind of like give it a little pillow, give it a little room?
Amazing. Amazing. Amazing because it's seen. It's not as if, oh, ignore it. Fear doesn't exist. It's like, oh, I can see that sensation. Have this warm little pillow, you know. It's warm, it smells great. It's another kind of, I still feel the weight of something on my chest, but it's something warm. It's not a, oh, forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's fine. You know, you don't have to be concerned about it.
Amazing. Ah, that feels so good. I can even visualize the little pillow and the comfort, right? The little bit
You
of
can
rest.
even see the color of the pillow. This was amazing.
Yeah. And you know, the great part of this is, and again, that's really as deep as I want to move through this today.
Yeah,
We
thank
don't
you.
have to we don't have to remove that little hurt, right? We don't have to tell it you're wrong and you shouldn't be scared, and
Mm,
here's reasons that you need to feel better and not be scared anymore, right? We don't have to and this is why this is so transformative for me, is like allowing that to exist, right? Allowing it to be there. It's there for a reason. If it wants to move someday, it will, right? It will move. And then maybe someday you'll find yourself in a quiet spot sitting silently, and that little thing will be like a little bit quieter, or it will feel a little bit more comfortable. And maybe not. Maybe you just really enjoy, like you said, the movement and the sound, and that's who you are. But really, this practice is deeply, deeply about bringing loving witness to all of these pieces of us and allowing them to be as they are. We're not trying to change the scared little part inside of us. We're trying to bring so much love, so much comfort, whatever it needs. And it will tell you, like, you, thank you for that. It will tell you, I need a pillow, I need a hug. I need you to actually just give me some space so I can be. And our imagination, because when I first got into this work, I was like, am I just imagining all of this? Well, like, yeah, I mean, we're kind of imagining everything, right? I mean, we're a lot of times with anxiety, we're imagining a future that doesn't exist, and it's negative and crazy, and we're imagining this. So we're using our imagination all the time. So we might as well use it as a way that's going to begin to comfort us. So I really thank you so much, Maria, for being brave, for showing up for the rest of us. This is a kind of a new, different. I mean, at least it was for me and a lot of people. It's a new way of processing. Um, I have just I can't tell you how absolutely different, and you guys, I get caught in it all the time. I get caught in my stories and I'm spinning my stories and I'm saying, and maybe she would have said this or I should have sent that email. And then if I just drop into my body and and I say, yeah, where am I feeling? Oh, okay, it's my throat, right? And you can just look at the most dominant sensation. You're gonna have a lot of sensations. Oh, my back's kind of creaky and you're gonna have a lot of sensations in your body at all times, but there usually is a dominant sensation. And so we work like we did with Maria there, the dominant sensation, the dominant story, right? I'm scared, the dominant emotion. And then piece by piece, there's this just miraculous thing that the body does where as it begins to trust you, I think that's what I've learned. As the body begins to trust your mind, whatever that is, the intellect, again, it will let you into deeper places. It will let you in sometimes into your rage. It will let you into your grief that you haven't felt. It will let you into your fear in a very deep way because you learn to be that loving witness, right? You learn that even in your greatest fear, there's still that witness that is there saying, like, I'm here. I'm here. You're not going anywhere. I'm here to give you what you need. And, since we were, gosh, I don't even know, 1.5, 2 years old, what we've been told is don't do this, don't do that, change, be different. Don't do this. You're annoying me. Go over there. It's like we've just been trying to like change and cut things out of our lives for so long, right? Who wanted to come to the Zoom today and like cut out depression and cut out anxiety and just cut, chop, choppy chop until everything is better. And I think the biggest paradigm shift here, and something, again, this really goes hand in hand with psychedelics, is like, no, like more acceptance, more allowing, right? Like coming into relation with your anxiety. Like, what does it feel like? What does it do? What does it move like? What does it want? I know my anxiety so well that she's like my friend. I'm like, hi, how's it going? Like, you're here you are in my head, right here you are in my hands shaking. And I've learned to welcome her, and this has taken me quite some time to be like, I feel you, I'm here, what do you need? Oh, you need quiet? I'm going to turn the radio off. You need to be alone? Okay, right, I'm going to give you, again, what you need in this moment so that you can be seen and heard and felt to the greatest. Sometimes you're at work, but I can go to the bathroom for 3 minutes and I can be with you. I can be with you, nervousness. I can witness you. I can hold you instead of like chop, 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 take the next thing, drink the next tequila, chop all these, like get it rid, get rid, get rid. I've never met anyone in my life who successfully have just gotten rid of all their problems. I mean, unless they're lying. Or maybe if you meditate for 80 years, right, you're an elevated, you're a saintly human perhaps, but even then. So I really hope what you guys take away from this today, and I want to open this up too. I know if anyone needs to jump off, of course you're welcome. It's been an hour. I'm going to stay on for some Q&A just about anything: mushrooms, the retreats, somatic experiencing, you know, what you want to have for lunch tomorrow, anything at all. But I really hope that you guys got a lot out of this. The bottom line: breathe and welcome, right? Welcome, welcome, welcome more of what is happening, and you will begin to build a resilient, strong container that, so when those times come again, when the depression comes rearing its ugly head and it's like, here come the suicidal thoughts, here come, right, the hopelessness, here comes the I'm never gonna make, here it comes. Like, I had one recently, you guys. I went through a depressive episode back in April that was like absolutely terrifying. And I didn't want to reach out to my mentors. I didn't want to tell my friend. I didn't even want to tell my closest friends, because I was like, they're not going to understand this. And those of you that know those depths, right? Those depths of depression where it's like, you don't even want to see your way out because there's no hope. There's no point. It's like, this is it. And yet I remember in those, like the deepest part of those depths, it was like, this was the first time in my life where I said, you know what, depression, whatever you are, I'm going there. I will go to the darkest corners. I will go to the deepest part of the jungle with you. Whatever you want to tell me. And it's like, this one was just like, you're a piece of crap and you've been lying to yourself and all of your accomplishments means nothing. And you're lonely and sad and pathetic. And it's like, and anytime you try to get out of this, you're just lying to yourself. And it was like, I'm going to convince you of that. I'm going to convince you that all of your baloney and all of your gratitude and everything is a lie, and that you are a genuine piece of crap. And I'm like, okay. You know why? You know why depression? Because like I trust my body now, and I trust myself that I know this will pass. It may be months. It may be, it may be a while, but that's taking me 10 years to get to a place. And that doesn't mean, again, did my depression completely go away? No. This was one of the strongest ones I've ever had. It was wild. And I came out of it, and I didn't spiritually bypass my way out of it. I didn't pray and light my candles and pretend everything was fine and just look at the birds and just go for a walk. I didn't, that was not where I was. I was able to sit with and welcome the hopelessness, the fear, the anger, this monster. And it was only because for years I've been working to create a space within myself that says, like, you also are welcome here. Even you, hopelessness, even you, suicide, even you are welcome here. And I know that you have a message for me, and I know that you think what you're doing is right, because it did. It was like, no, this is real. And I'm like, I know that you think that. And I'm going to sit here with you, and we're going to go face to face for however long this takes. And I'm getting such like chills in my body right now, because I really, it's not the easy way, guys. The easy way, if you want to go, you guys know, I mean, easy as in simple, right? You go to your doctor, they're like, blah, blah, I don't know, take this thing here, like, I don't know, take this paper, like, get out of here, right? That's the easy way, right? Just cut off some symptoms. I don't know. Hopefully you can like numb it out and like, I don't know, drink on the weekend, go have fun. This is the more challenging path, is to go into it. And to be fair, this is what psychedelics do, right? The cheesy saying, the only way out is through. The only way out is through. And like when you're in a difficult journey, man, you just keep going through. And there's ways, right? There's tools, there's breath, there's friendship, there's community, there's many things that support us, but it's really my like firm belief at the end of the day, it's you and you. And like you got to just stare your own darkness and your own fear in the face and love it. And just be like, I'm here. I'm here to witness you. I'm here to listen to you, welcome you, really allow you to speak. And even deeper than that, I know who I am, right? I know that there's something deeper than that. So I hope this is giving you a few little tools. I didn't mean for it to go off into the deep end like it just did there, but this is real. This is, I could give you guys little tools and little like, say, experiencing depression instead of I'm depressed, right? There's little things that can ease symptoms, but the truth is like this stuff is life and death, and it's real, and it comes back, and I don't think anyone has an easy answer for it. So I love being here in a group of people that, sign up for a webinar and are like, all right, here we go. Like I experienced this like over and over again. I'm in the cycle. I've got it. And then there's other times, and I think the most sensitive and caring and gentle humans I know are the ones that experience this the most. They really are. I mean, there's a reason why alcoholics, for the most part, are extremely sensitive people, right? Life is a lot to handle. And being a sensitive human in the world right now, whew, and you got to have strong boundaries. It's not easy. So here to support you, here for any questions. You guys can just unmute if you want to. Anything that came up that you want to share, even just to be witnessed and speak here, or ask a question.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, thank you for sharing. I hope you're feeling good now. But like your experience is a perfect segue to one of the questions I have. So I'm tapering off SSRIs. I'm doing microdosing, and I know different people have different ideas about whether you can do a psilocybin retreat if you are on SSRIs, or how long after you taper SSRIs can you do it. Do you have is there any protocol in the Buena Vida, or like, what's your take on that?
Great question. I feel that we have a little bit more of a lenient take than maybe some other retreat centers do. And that's only experience. There's a lot of people over the years that just for at the recommendation of their doctor, they weren't able to completely come off of their medications. It wouldn't have been safe. And what we recommend is that you take the most amount of time possible, and that you come to the retreat on your minimum effective dose, whatever your doctor says that is. Now, if it's really too close, like if you're like, oh, I want to come next week, we will probably say like, that's not quite enough time to equalize your system, right? We want to give it the most time possible. And if you're not able to, you're not able to. And we still work with people who need to remain on those medications. We generally have you sign a waiver, though, because the felt experience can be diminished quite a bit.
Yes,
However,
yes.
I have been able, I don't know what it is, I've been able to, it may just be a higher dose, but even people who have had to remain on, Prozac or Wellbutrin or these other different medications, we've been able to get them to have an experience, like to get them to the correct dose to where they do breakthrough experience. So it's a combination of both. I don't think that there's a much deeper, right? We do like when we do a medical intake, we do a much deeper dive into kind of your background, different things. I will say certain medications like benzodiazepines, pain meds, and sleep meds.
Oh no.
Those are just a no-go. Like you're not going to have an experience. Like if you're on Ambien or any sort of like pain medication, you're just not going to have an experience. They're not exactly safe. It's just that it's working on parts of the brain where the psilocybin is trying to to activate, like on the actual same synapses. So yeah, but SSRIs and SSNIs, like we've actually had a pretty good history of people that need to remain on those. And then, some people end up going off of them when they come home. Some people decide that it's still going to remain part of their regimen, that it's still working for them. But yeah, you definitely don't have to like immediately stop taking that. Like we never recommend that, right? Like you have to go with because those can be really dangerous if you just immediately
Yes.
stop taking them. So
Mm-hmm.
that's like going to be yeah. We have an MD on our staff that will, with certain cases, he's worked more closely than I think probably any other MD with psilocybin. Most MDs are like, what? Psilocybin? What mushrooms? They're like, I don't know. So yeah, to have a doctor, a psychiatrist, psychologist who's somewhat psychedelic informed, because we've heard so many stories over the years, you guys, of just so many doctors like, that's dangerous, you're gonna die, you're gonna this, that's oh my, just fear mongering. And meanwhile, they're, giving their patients like 7 different medications, and you're like, well,
Yes.
so yeah, psychedelic informed at least, right? Psychedelic informed
Yeah, perfect.
if possible. Anybody
Thank
else?
you.
Anybody got something burning up? Oh, Alan said, thank you. Nice, sweetie.
May I ask another question?
Nobody else raised their hand. Ask away. Or Sue, sorry,
So,
do you have one? We'll go to Sue next, right after
oh
Marina.
yeah, yeah, go soon.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I was just curious about dates. So I know the Mexico October is sold out and for the 5-day and you have the 7-day. Um, are there going to be more of this year, or will we be looking at 2025 for Mexico specifically?
Yes, we're working this week actually on probably another 5-day in Mexico in November.
Okay.
I try to with my facilitators, they come from all over the world, so I try to put a few together at a time. So, in
Okay.
addition to the 7-day that's I believe it starts on the 20th, there's going
Yeah.
to be most likely kind of like mid-November, another
Okay.
in Mexico. And yeah, were you interested more in a 5, a 7? I know that I can answer kind of the questions on like the differences between those. They're both intense. Obviously, the 7-day is a little bit more, but
Ideally, 7 would be great, but I just don't feel comfortable being away from home and the kids for so long. So 5 is likely where I would land. I'm also interested in what you brought up about the study that you're planning on doing with the university out of London. I think that would be kind of cool.
yes, I'm actually meeting. There's a team of scientists from London, Montreal. I forget where the other two. There's like 4 different scientists working on this. And so we're right now in the process of co-designing, because this is all brand new. So they have to, of course, have it approved by government advisors and things. But the idea in general has been approved. And so now we're working on like what we think is going to be the best protocol for that. But yeah, it's going to be a really big breakthrough study. And the only requirement I have is just that everyone doesn't know each other. So I think that's going to be, pretty easy. Like all of the guests
Mm,
don't know one another. That's
okay.
yeah, maybe January through March is what we're thinking for just again getting all of us from all over the world together in order to support that and also have the proper funding and the proper everything that we need to get that going. But yeah, Sue, can you guys both Sue and anyone else, if you guys want to drop your email in the chat so we have it. I mean,
Okay.
it might be on our list, but just so that I can like Shandy, who's our operations director, will keep people on like specific lists, right? Like she'll ask me like who wants to, come in 2024 or who's interested in this. And we'll just make sure that in addition to kind of our regular little emails, that you will have specific ones. Yeah, I
Great.
can't.
Thanks.
I'm so excited because we're gonna have the EEGs on like during yoga and during. I mean, they're gonna like
Yeah.
really gonna see, and it's still gonna be the full retreat experience as well. Um,
Okay.
we have a few newbies. Unfortunately, we're coming toward the end. We're coming toward the end of our Cynthia and Mike. I apologize, you guys just came in here. We're in a Q&A right now. We actually just went through our experiencing. But I did record all of the sessions, so I'll make sure that you guys in a few days, Shandy will send that out so that you can rewatch it and breathe with us and learn a little bit. But yeah, if anyone else, I'll stick around. I have some time. If you need to head out, you can, but please go ahead and you can just unmute yourself and ask a question or a comment, anything that you would like. I'll be here. Oh, I think we just lost. We might have just lost Maria. Okay, Maria said she's also interested in the research. Fantastic. We got Sue. Sue, do I know you?
I don't think so, but like I follow you on Instagram. I may have commented there. I feel like I know you though too. It's so funny, right? When you get that feeling.
Where do you live?
I'm in South Carolina near Charlotte.
Charlotte. That's so interesting. Yeah, maybe I have. It's so funny. Yeah, like Instagram. We've been kicked off Instagram like twice, but I like it now. It's like a much smaller actually audience, and it's people like that I interact with and I see more often. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, who knows why? You know,
Yeah.
internet gods are like not happy with what we're doing, apparently.
Yeah, it's pretty I don't know. I guess you get that quite a bit, right? Until you don't, until it stops. People are more accepting and open.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there
Yeah.
somehow. All right, guys. Cynthia, Mike, Jane, Marley, anybody else have anything they'd like to say to add into the space? Any questions?
I have a question for you about, does it make any difference if you do in your experience, the retreat alone versus if you do it with a friend or with your husband or like, because it's a little scary just to go into a retreat for the first time, So it feels easier if it, I don't know, I convince my husband or a friend to come with me, but what's your experience about results and
Yes, great question. It is absolutely scary to go on a retreat by yourself. When I went to I went to a 12-day ayahuasca retreat about 10 years ago. Oh my gosh, just getting me on the plane. I mean, it was just, and I'm a pretty social person too. I'm like I'm not terribly uncomfortable in groups, but what I liked was, and this is the same with our retreats, almost everybody is coming alone. So it's like you get in the airport and you see a bunch of people, and we're guiding you along from the minute you get there. Like everything is taken care of, and most other people are like they're in the same boat. They're like, hey, I'm in Mexico, or I'm in Joshua Tree at this retreat, and like I'm a little bit scared, and you're gonna be with me. So pretty quickly you'll see that it's most people's experience that they are coming alone. And that being said, we do every retreat, we at least have one couple or like a mother-daughter or some friends that will come together. There's pluses and minuses to both. You want to be sure, one, we definitely screen for anyone who's being pulled along. Like we don't let that person come. If someone's just like,
yeah,
hey,
yeah, of course.
and like if they don't understand what they're getting themselves into, it will be bad for both people. We learn that very early. So like, for example, if you want to bring a partner or someone, like we'll interview them separately without you in the room. I can't tell you the amount of times we've been interviewing someone and we hear the other person like, say this, say that. Because, if they're just like, oh, it sounds kind of fun, I don't know, it's kind of like a, cool experience. There are cool pieces to it, but it's not you really have to know that like you may be like digging into parts of your psyche and yourself that you haven't touched your whole life. And I will say, the couples that come together just go through an absolutely incredible transformation. I mean, just it's wild because in the ceremony you're alone, and we separate couples. Anyone who comes together, we separate them in the ceremony. Over
Right.
here,
Oh, perfect.
you're not worried about, oh, is my husband, is he crying, is he doing this? We're the ones watching over you, and so you have your own internal experience, right? Your own complete different experience. And then during the rest of the retreat you're also together, so you're able to process together, walk down to the beach or go in the hot tub. And so you're also depending on where you're at in your relationship, some people are coming to work on their relationship, which is two individuals, right? And so they're doing the individual work and they're doing the work together. And other people have left and been like, now we're getting a divorce. You know, it's like it will show you whatever it needs to show you. So, you know, proceed with caution. And same with friends. Like you just have to both be really prepared for what you're getting into. And we're really good at that. We're really Shandy and I are good at, you know, just speaking with both of you and seeing if that's a good thing. But I would say don't be afraid to come alone. It's at least 80% of the group is alone. So it's a common experience. It's a common, like, I'm away, my kids, like, what's happening? I'm by myself. And I hope, and I think it's true that me and the women I work with are very welcoming and open, and like we get how you're feeling when you get there. Um, and it's amazing with psychedelics how quickly you bond. I mean, even if you've been to like a yoga retreat or another type of retreat, like you meet, you know, you bond with the people, but psychedelics just takes it to the next. It's like I don't want to say like war stories because that's like not, I don't really like that analogy, but something like that, right? Like we went through this thing together, like we were there. And so it really bonds you like pretty quickly with the people you. Yeah,
Thank you.
of course.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, who's that?
Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia.
Hi. I guess I have a question which may seem a little bizarre, but I've been doing some microdosing. I'm here in Mexico,
Okay.
and that has been very helpful for me in terms of gaining some perspective on myself and other people. My hesitation about doing a retreat is that I had a long period in my life of depression, and I had a lot of that to overcome. And I feel like I have overcome it. I feel really quite stable and doing very well in my life. And I'm kind of afraid of going back, going back to the dark days,
Mm.
if that makes some sense to you.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for sharing that with us and being vulnerable and you know, when you do begin to stabilize, I think especially with depression, you know, that's a hard won treasure, right? Like it's something that's like, okay, I can kind of breathe. I'm feeling that things are, you know, the waters have calmed a bit. And so your hesitation, you know, that it really makes sense. Um, I want to see how, you know, I think your own internal guidance on this, since you have had like what has the experience been like with microdosing, right? Has it like have you had any felt changes in your personality or your like the way that you interact with the world? What has that been like?
Yeah, well, it has helped me a lot, but I mean, a lot of things have helped me. But most recently, the microdosing has helped me see myself better in the world. And it has also helped me a lot to see when I'm being judgmental and to let go of that. And I've really enjoyed that. I think that's just a wonderful benefit of it. So I feel much kinder toward the world and other people. And I
Hmm.
feel it has helped me be much more generous. I think when I was suffering, when I was young, I had terrible depression and I was in therapy for a long time. And, but that was many years ago, because it did help me a lot. And then I got I got into a very good relationship that was also very, very helpful, very grounding and just very, I don't know, reinforcing of
Hmm.
my own humanity. So I feel like I've come a very long way, and I do like the microdosing, though I've stopped doing it because the last time I did it, I did it like 3 times in one week, and I think that was too much. And
Yeah.
I started finding myself feeling, uh, looking more on the negative side of things, which was a switch from what I had experienced before. So I stopped taking
Hmm.
it, and I haven't taken any since because I am riding on the wave of the positive impact of it. And I'm enjoying that. I feel like it's a permanent thing. I feel like it has helped me permanently, and I don't feel like I will lose that. But I'm not sure about what to do next. I mean, I'm tempted. Of course, I've read a lot about psilocybin and psychedelic experiences. And just from an intellectual point of view, I'm very, very curious about it. And also, I've always enjoyed going deeper, learning more about my own psyche and about the world.
Well, that's the key ingredient right there.
Yeah.
I think that's really the piece. You're saying so many beautiful things. One, that you said something great about microdosing, which is like it's an experimentation process, right? Everyone wants to know the best protocol and that this many per week and then go off a week. And, we have some protocols that we will give to people, but you really have to feel it in your own self. Like sometimes I just feel like I completely take a break from mushrooms for like 2 months. And then other times I'll feel like, oh, it's time for, a few weeks of microdosing, or it's time for a larger macro dose or a ceremonial dose. It really starts to be an intuitive process because, and here's where my woo-woo side comes in. I've just had too many experiences not to believe, I guess I'll say it that way, that what we're dealing with here is a consciousness of some type. I don't know how there's this consciousness that exists within this fungi network, but it isn't like an inert plant or fungus that we're just putting in our body and then it's in our brain and then we feel different. Like you begin to have a relationship with this medicine. And I think microdosing is a really great way to begin that relationship. And then when you step into the larger doses, there's a larger surrender that's asked of you. There's a larger letting go of control. I will say this though, and I really, really believe this with my whole heart, and I wouldn't be doing this work if I didn't. It's my belief that in the right space, the right set and setting, right? We hear that all the time, in the right container with the right people, preparation, that this medicine, its intention is for your benefit. It's for your healing. It's for your expansion. That being said, it's not without, maybe you are, some people, I feel like they're strong enough to be asked to go to those deeper places or go to those maybe might consider darker places. But on the other side of it, there's always such a reward. There's a brand new perspective, or like you said, so much more kindness or patience with people, or there's something really beautiful. So I wouldn't be afraid per se of like depression just coming back out of nowhere and all of a sudden you're just depressed again and you don't know why. There can be, and can be serotonin related, it can be just the experience of a larger dose. There is a week or so, we call it the dip. You just, after, where it's like you just take a dip for a few days and you're like, whoa, right? Because we go to some peak places, we go to some peak experiences. And I wouldn't be afraid. I wouldn't be afraid, especially if, like you said, you like to explore your psyche, you like to explore your consciousness, and you've done, as you've told me, enough therapy, enough work, and you have a solid base of understanding of your journey with depression and your journey, like you said, with negative thoughts and positive thoughts, and like how it feels different to like be kind and positive toward people as opposed to judgmental. Like you have a really good, honestly, understanding that I've worked with people who have far less self-awareness, far less understanding, who still go into these experiences. And I've worked with a lot of plant medicines, a lot. Ayahuasca, San Pedro, peyote, ketamine, MDMA, like just a lot of different ones. And psilocybin to me remains the safest, the gentlest, I want to say, even though it can be very profound, like the gentlest on the body. And again, as long as you're working with someone, either one person or a group of people who have a deep understanding of how to guide you in the process, how to guide you before and after, how to guide you during the experience. What I find from people who've had bad or negative experiences other places or long-term effects is that, you know, a way to think of this is like if I were to drop you out of a helicopter into the Amazon jungle, right? And you're like, I love animals and the jungle. Okay, go get dropped into the middle, right? You're gonna want a guide. You're gonna want an experienced guide. Not because you know, you're afraid, but because like there are things that can harm you, right? There are snakes and animals and bugs and mosquitoes and you know, exposure and rain. Like there are things that can harm you. And the psychedelic space is no different. I don't think anyone claims, I hope not, you know, claims to be an expert into these like realms where we're traveling, but we're definitely opening ourselves.
Very sorry, but I have to go. I have a delivery. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Cynthia. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'll just finish that thought of like the psychedelic world can be right, just like a dream world, right? Like imagine if someone was like, tonight you're going into the dream world, except for it's going to be extremely real and everything that happens there is going to feel like it's actually happening. You'd be like, oh, I hope I having good dreams, you know, like I hope I know what I'm doing. We've all had those dreams where we woke up and it's like, you know, you feel like your whole life has been torn apart, or you feel like your body, you're like, that really happened. And you know, psychedelics are just as mysterious as the dream world. Like no one knows what's happening when we dream. People have so many theories, but we don't really know what our psyche is doing. And so I believe we don't really know where we're going or where our soul or our psyche is experiencing when we open these doorways that we do with psychedelics. But just like the Amazon jungle, not everything in there is good, right? Not everything in there is there for your benefit or can't, you know, like harm you. And so again, you don't have to be afraid, but you just have to have a good guide and say, don't go over there. We're going to walk this way. You got to put this bug spray on, right? Like you just need someone who's been there and who knows how to prepare you, who knows how to give you tools of navigation, which we focus a lot on at the retreats, right? Here's how you breathe. Here's how you can speak to the medicine. Here's how you navigate. Here's other ways, like you're not just on this journey alone, like you're navigating, you're working with the medicine, right? You can have some direction that you want to go. And then there's other times where you have to let go and you'll know the difference between that. So yeah, don't let anyone ever tell you that every experience with psychedelics or everything is just love and light and rainbows and positive. Like that person doesn't know what they're talking about. And they're inexperienced. If they're like, it's always good, it's always great, it's always light. I think psychedelics are neutral. Just like when you meet a new person, like, do you trust them with your life? Probably not, right? Get to know them a little bit. You walk a little bit, you listen to what they say, you watch their behaviors, right? You kind of grow. And so, you know, I'm still a baby on this path. Like I've been sitting pretty seriously for about 10 years with psychedelics. And I mean, I feel safe leading in the way that I do, but I am by no means what I consider myself some sort of a expert. You know, in that, but I do have amazingly like a very incredible safety record, both physical safety, psychological safety, spiritual safety, everything that you need to kind of go to these depths. So that's all I'll say about that. All right, guys, it's 6:30. I have time for one more question if anybody has one, and then we're gonna jump off and move on to the next part of our evening with our new calming breath and our new way of experiencing, hopefully experiencing sensations in our body and the knowledge that, guess what? Everybody goes through this, man. I think it's kind of interesting that my life path is like just I'm around a lot of depressed and anxious people. And it like that was because I'm like, yeah, it's actually just honest people. You know, I'm around a lot of honest people is who I'm around. And then, you know, when I go into situations where people are trying to do that, like, oh yeah, everything's good, the kids are great, no, it's great, yeah, we're I'm like, you know, we all have to do that sometimes, but yeah, you know, it's funny when you're like, ooh, there's a lot of pain behind those. It's all great.
Yeah.
We all do, as we all have. That's life. All right, you guys feeling good? For those of you that didn't get the recording, if you want to drop your email in the chat, you can. And so every week now, from here on out, we've gotten really good at it. We are doing these free webinars. So last week we did soothing with plants and herbs with our friend Nurse Nikki, who is a used to be actually has transitioned out of nursing, but also has been studying herbology and plants and healing with natural elements. And so I'm gonna have Shandy send out. I don't think she sent out that recording yet, but she talked a lot about how to calm the nervous system with certain plants and herbs. And it was a fantastic workshop last week. It was wonderful. We do breath work at least once a month, like a longer 45-minute lay down deep breath work. And if you've never done that, even if you have, like, come, it's just the closest thing that I know of to a psychedelic experience is a long form, deep breath work. It has been showing to do very similar things in the brain. It can give you a big reset and emotional release. Anna did yoga and meditation. So we always have something new, and we love to share it with all these amazing friends. Thank you guys for letting me live my life in this way where we get to talk about these things and be real and be seen and be witnessed. It's a big fear of mine, but I also lean into it, which is just being seen and showing up as my true self. So I hope you can go and do that with at least one or two people in your life. I hope you guys have those people. And we will see you. Just keep your eye on email. It's usually Monday or Wednesday that we do the workshops. And we'll see you guys next week. I'll be sure, I got all the emails from here, so I'll be sure to keep you guys on the list for the scientific study. We announced a new retreat in November. And there's probably going to be in December too, most likely a few more here at my home in Joshua Tree, out in the beautiful desert.
Great. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Let's see here. I'm going to close that guy out.